I'm looking across the table right now, and the visual is just too perfect not to share with you.
It really is.
We have this beautifully curated, sleek, modern office setup here.
Right.
But right in the center of it, reflecting off my co-host's glasses, is the unmistakable green glow of a command line terminal.
Yeah, it is a bit of a stark contrast.
It is. It's this striking juxtaposition between the polished tech aesthetic we are all used to and the raw, unvarnished engine room of computing.
The literal black and green screen.
Exactly. And that contrast is exactly what we are diving into today.
Which is going to be a fun one.
So whether you are listening to prep for a strategy meeting or you just follow the bleeding edge of tech and want to look past the marketing hype, you are in the right place.
Absolutely.
Today's topic fundamentally redefines the capabilities you have when you sit down at a keyboard.
We are looking at a very tangible paradigm shift here. The industry is moving away from an era where computers strictly execute the specific syntax we type.
Right, the exact code.
Right, and it's moving toward an era where they execute the broader intentions we describe.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our mission for this deep dive is to explore a fascinating piece of tech journalism from XDA.
A really great piece.
Yeah, it was written by Manur Faisal, published on February 26, 2026.
Just recently.
And the title lays it all out. It's called Claude Code Isn't Just for Developers, and I wish I'd realized that sooner.
It's a bold claim.
It is. So we are going to dig into the core arguments of the main article. But we are also going to spend some serious time in the highly contested comment section right beneath it.
Oh, the comment section is always where the real debate happens.
Always. The goal is to uncover how this new wave of agentic coding is completely eliminating the traditional barrier between having an idea and actually building it.
And why that glowing green terminal is no longer an exclusive playground for hardcore software engineers.
Because the terminal has basically functioned as a walled garden for decades.
Literally decades. You either knew the secret language of shell commands or you just stayed out.
Right.
Opening those gates changes the entire landscape of who gets to build software. And what they are building is already proving to be pretty remarkable.
To really understand the leap we've taken, we have to look at the historical context Manur provides.
Yeah, we have to look back a bit.
If we think back to the public launch of ChatGPT,
Which feels like ancient history now.
it really does. The world shifted seemingly overnight. Suddenly, anyone could generate complex functions or debug scripts using just natural language.
But there was a catch.
A big one. For anyone who actually tried to build something substantial with it, the friction of the, well, she calls it the chatbot to IDE pipeline, became obvious very quickly.
Because the workflow was incredibly disjointed.
Exactly.
While the AI possessed vast knowledge, its environment was totally isolated. You were essentially forced into the role of a manual courier between two disconnected systems.
You had your code editor open on one monitor, and the AI chatbot open in a browser tab on the other.
The classic two-screen setup.
Right, so you asked a question, waited for the snippet, copied it, pasted it into your project, and ran it.
And then it breaks.
Always breaks. So your compiler throws an error, you copy the error text, paste it back into the browser tab, and wait for the revision.
It was exhausting. The AI was undoubtedly a powerful assistant, but it was trapped in a web wrapper. You were still doing all the actual driving.
But that dynamic is precisely what has evolved.
The entire AI coding space has pushed aggressively toward agentic coding.
Agentic coding.
Yes, and that is the crucial differentiator the article highlights. With an agentic framework, you aren't asking an external AI for a piece of code to manually insert.
Right, you aren't copy-pasting anymore.
Exactly. You describe the end objective, and the AI actively operates within your development environment to achieve it.
It's doing the legwork.
It runs the loops, it reads the local environment, proposes a terminal command, executes it, reads the standard output, and then adjusts its next move based on the result.
And Claude Code brings that autonomous agent approach directly into the command line.
Which is huge.
Wait, so if it is living natively in the terminal, does it only output code, or does it have the autonomy to actually touch the infrastructure of the project?
It has whatever autonomy you grant it.
Really?
Yeah. It types the commands, it creates the directories, modifies the files, runs the test suites.
Wow.
You assign an objective, and it becomes an autonomous operator working directly on your machine's file system.
Which sounds like an absolute dream for a senior developer trying to automate their boilerplate tasks.
Oh, they love it.
But the core revelation of Manur's article is that after spending serious time with this tool, she realized Claude Code is not just for developers.
Not at all.
In fact, some of its most powerful applications are coming from entirely outside the traditional tech sphere.
And the data point the article uses to back that up is perhaps the most compelling part of the entire piece.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I want to talk about Anthropic's recent Claude Code hackathon.
The results there really shift your perspective.
Completely. When most people picture a coding hackathon, they picture a room packed with software engineers staring at multiple monitors, right?
Energy drinks everywhere.
Exactly. But out of the 5 winners of this specific event, 3 of them had absolutely no background in software development.
None. They outperformed a room full of professional engineers using the exact same tool set.
Which is wild.
That points to a massive leveling of the playing field.
The winners included a cardiologist,
A doctor,
a road systems worker, and an attorney.
and the attorney story is incredible.
Yeah. The article highlights Mike Brown. He's a personal injury attorney. And he won the hackathon by building an application designed to speed up California's building permit process for code compliance and review.
Think about that.
An attorney, someone intimately familiar with bureaucratic bottlenecks, built a software solution for building permits, and he took home the top prize.
What's fascinating here is how perfectly Mike Brown's win illustrates the collapse of traditional development barriers.
It really does.
If we look at the historical model, domain experts, the people who actually understand the painful friction of a specific industry's compliance or workflow, faced a massive wall if they wanted to build a digital solution.
They were stuck.
They were essentially stuck with 2 highly inefficient options,
Right. Option 1 being the classic teach yourself to code route.
which usually ends in burnout.
Almost always.
Because the learning curve for modern full-stack development is incredibly steep. You are asking someone to sacrifice hundreds of hours of free time just to learn syntax before they can even begin addressing their actual problem.
And option 2 is spending a small fortune to hire an agency or freelance developers.
Which introduces its own headaches.
Right. The friction of managing budgets, setting timelines, and the inevitable game of telephone.
Oh, the game of telephone is the worst.
You try to explain the nuances of California building codes to a developer who has never worked in that industry. You're handing your vision over to someone who lacks your domain context.
And the article makes the compelling point that for passion projects or highly niche internal tools where there is no immediate monetization strategy, those 2 options are usually enough to kill a great idea in the cradle.
People just drop it.
They give up. But that friction is practically gone now. Tools like Claude Code let the user learn as they build.
They are building in real time.
The person who understands the problem firsthand is finally empowered to be the architect and the builder. Domain expertise is rapidly replacing syntax knowledge as the primary currency of software development.
Because they no longer need a technical translator.
Exactly. They can speak directly to the execution environment.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. We keep relying on the word coding because it's in the name of the tool.
Claude Code.
Right. But you don't actually have to use Claude Code to write software at all.
Not at all.
Because it operates natively in your terminal, it has direct access to your local file system. It can run standard bash commands and manipulate your everyday files.
The everyday utility of that access is staggering. The command line terminal isn't just a compiler for applications. It is the raw control room for your entire operating system.
I want you to imagine a very relatable scenario. You are looking at a folder on your machine. Let's call it the dreaded Downloads 2024 folder.
We all have one.
Inside are 500 files, receipts, raw image assets, PDF reports, all with completely chaotic, system-generated alphanumeric names.
That's a mess.
And you need to rename and sort all 500 of them into a specific date-organized directory structure.
A nightmare.
A senior sysadmin might whip up an elegant shell script in 5 minutes to automate that. But for the average user, you are staring down the barrel of 3 hours of mind-numbing manual clicking, copying, and pasting.
It is the exact type of repetitive digital labor that computers were theoretically invented to eliminate.
Yet we still do it.
We still find ourselves doing it manually.
But the article notes that with Claude Code, you simply describe the pattern. You prompt it. Look at the chaotic downloads folder. Read the creation dates of the files, rename them to a year-month-date format, and sort the PDFs into a subfolder.
Just plain English.
Plain English. The AI generates the required shell commands, asks for your approval, and executes the heavy lifting in seconds.
And the source outlines a massive list of these capabilities.
Right.
Because it can manipulate the file system and utilize underlying command line utilities, you can instruct it to do almost anything.
Like what?
You can have it analyze large CSV datasets, generate visual charts using Python libraries, parse through hundreds of pages of dense PDFs to extract specific summaries, or manage complex Git repositories.
Which naturally leads to questions some of you might be asking. Didn't Anthropic just release a desktop app to handle those exact kinds of non-coding tasks?
Yes, they did.
And the article does draw a very clear line between the two products.
The distinction is vital for understanding the ecosystem. Anthropic did recently release Claude Code,
Co-worker.
which is a desktop-native tool designed specifically for user-friendly, non-coding tasks. It has a graphical interface and is built for accessibility.
You point and click.
Exactly. Claude Code, on the other hand, is the terminal-based sibling. Operating at the command line strips away the guardrails of a graphical interface.
It's raw.
It offers significantly more raw computing power and granular system control for users willing to engage with the terminal environment.
If it has that much access to the local environment, it makes you wonder how it interacts with external services.
That's the next frontier.
And that brings us to how this tool plugs into the rest of the digital world. The article dives deep into something called MCP.
The Model Context Protocol.
Yes, the Model Context Protocol. This is the underlying framework that allows Claude to connect directly into your broader workflow. We're talking about bridging the AI with tools you rely on daily.
Slack, Notion, Google Drive.
GitHub, Obsidian, NotebookLM.
The integration aspect transforms the agent from an isolated local worker into a central command hub.
And it's growing, right?
Fast. The open source community is continuously developing new MCP servers, meaning the ecosystem of what Claude can reach out and touch is expanding daily.
To put that into practice, if you have the Notion MCP connected, you can be working in your terminal and simply type, search my Notion workspace for the Q3 marketing strategy notes and update the deliverables database with these new metrics.
It's seamless.
It handles the API calls and updates the database natively. You never even open a browser.
You just stay in the terminal.
But the detail from the article that feels genuinely sci-fi and maybe a tiny bit dystopian is the actual setup process for these MCP servers.
Oh, this is wild. Configuring local servers and pathing variables in a terminal is notoriously finicky.
Very easy to mess up.
For a non-developer, missing a single step in configuring a JSON file or misspelling a directory path usually results in a wall of red error text.
Which is the exact moment most people abandon the project.
Exactly.
But Manor points out that you can bypass that entirely by asking Claude Code to install and configure its own servers.
You just delegate it.
You tell the agent, I want to connect to my Google Drive. It searches for the correct MCP server, downloads it, and runs the installation commands.
And the kicker is how it handles failure.
Yes. If it runs into a configuration error, it doesn't just halt and ask you, the non-developer, what to do.
Because you wouldn't know anyway.
Right. It actually reads its own diagnostic error logs, parses the stack trace to figure out what went wrong, and executes a fix independently.
Machine self-reliance is a major threshold to cross. Having an AI agent that can diagnose and repair its own operational environment removes the most significant layer of friction for the end user.
It extends beyond integrations, too. There's a feature simply called skills.
Skills are great.
If you have a complex multi-step workflow you do frequently, you don't have to write out a massive prompt every single time.
That would get tedious.
You could teach Claude a skill once, save it, and then trigger it with a simple command forever. You can also download community skills created by other users.
It functions essentially like an app store for AI workflows, embedded right inside the command line.
And mirroring the MCP setup, if you find a skill but don't know how to deploy it, you delegate the installation process to the agent itself.
Manor gives a brilliant, practical example of this in the piece.
Right. She found a skill on X, formerly Twitter, designed for generating presentations.
She had Claude install it, and suddenly her raw text terminal was acting as a full-blown presentation generation engine.
From the terminal.
She described the narrative she wanted for the slides, selected a visual aesthetic, and the terminal output a fully interactive, styled HTML slideshow.
Just incredible.
Yeah.
But as impressive as the success stories are, whenever a new technology claims to completely eliminate the need for technical expertise, it requires serious scrutiny.
Theory and controlled hackathons are one thing. The messy reality of everyday deployment is another.
Which brings us to the XDA comments section beneath the article. We always want to look at the pushback,
Always.
because understanding how real users are experiencing the tech in the wild is where the actual nuance lives, and the comments on this piece are fiercely divided.
Very polar.
There is a deeply philosophical debate happening about whether this technology is actually robust enough to replace fundamental computer science knowledge.
This raises an important question, and it is framed perfectly by a commenter operating under the handle Just Saying. They introduced the concept of vibe coding.
Vibe coding.
Yeah.
It is such an incredibly descriptive term for the current era of AI development.
The core dilemma Just Saying highlights with vibe coding is structural integrity. If you are vibe coding, meaning you are just throwing conversational natural language at an AI until it spits out a functioning application, what happens when that application inevitably breaks?
Right. If you aren't a coder, you don't understand the underlying architecture.
You don't know the variable routing or the dependency structures of what was built. How do you even begin to know what to fix?
You're flying blind.
They noted that while they utilize AI similarly to the author, they strictly limit it to personal, low-stakes tools, rather than trusting it for robust, production-level applications.
That sentiment sparked a massive clash in the replies. And we want to present this debate impartially because it perfectly captures the dividing line in the tech community right now.
It really does.
On one side, you have a user named Maya R. Her stance is one of pure optimism and reliance on the agent. She argues that if a non-coder creates an app with AI and a function breaks, you literally just feed the bug behavior back to the AI and it will resolve the issue.
Just ask the AI to fix it.
In her view, the AI serves as both the original architect and the ongoing maintenance crew.
The flip side of that is deep, battle-tested skepticism. A user named Joey replied directly to Maya with a very blunt, "Haha, keep telling yourself that."
Ouch.
That skepticism represents a vast contingent of traditional developers. They know from experience that debugging complex, intertwined software systems requires a holistic understanding of the code base.
Because when an AI builds a monolithic application, it often writes spaghetti code.
Exactly. If an AI agent lacks the holistic context of a sprawling system, asking it to fix a bug can often cause a cascading failure somewhere else in the app.
Standing between those two extremes is a user named the Fakie, who offers a highly pragmatic middle ground. They point out that this tech currently serves as the perfect bridge for people who are tech-savvy but lack deep, nitty-gritty command line syntax knowledge.
That is a critical distinction. Knowing how computers work conceptually is different from knowing the exact syntax required to execute a command.
Exactly. If you understand the broad concepts of how APIs communicate or how a local network operates, but you don't have the exact bash syntax memorized to write an advanced port scanning script, Claude Code bridges that gap effortlessly.
You don't have to be a professional software engineer.
But having a general technical foundation ensures you can actually guide the agent effectively.
And we have to acknowledge the users who have actively tested these specific tools and hit hard limitations.
We do.
The critical experiences are just as illuminating as the success stories.
A user named Kisla provided a heavily critical, highly detailed review of their time with the ecosystem. They explicitly questioned the current hype, comparing the concept of agentic coding to using AI to write blog content.
Implying the output is often generic.
Generic, surface level, and lacks deep structural integrity. Kisla tested both the Claude desktop app and the Claude Code terminal tool and reported that the agent completely failed to complete their request.
Even after adjusting the settings.
Right, even after they went into the settings and manually doubled the context limit.
Doubling a context limit means they were feeding the model a massive amount of data, likely extensive code bases or incredibly dense instructions.
And the model still lost the thread of the task.
It points to the current limitations in AI memory and sustained reasoning over long horizons.
Kisla actually advocates for entirely different tools in this space. They noted that a different model called Minimax successfully completed their specific task without any issues. They also highlighted Warp's AI agent as a strong alternative, though they conceded that even Warp can get overwhelmed by highly complex tasks, requiring the user to manually break the conversation down into smaller, more digestible chunks.
The specific use cases Kisla mentioned for Warp are incredibly telling because they demonstrate exactly how far you can push these agents if you have that foundational technical knowledge we discussed.
Kisla used Warp to generate boilerplate code and write technical documentation. But the standout moment was using the agent to troubleshoot local network issues that weren't yielding any solutions on Google.
That's practically a sysadmin's dream.
But the craziest part of their review was that they used the AI agent to install an intricate Nix-Darwin setup on a temperamental M3 chip.
Oh, wow.
For those who haven't wrestled with it, Nix-Darwin is a notoriously strict system configuration manager used in the Linux and Mac OS worlds.
It is not for the faint of heart.
Getting it to run natively on an Apple Silicon chip usually requires hours of combing through developer forums, managing read-only volume workarounds, and executing exact symlinks.
It is a massive headache.
The fact that an AI agent successfully navigated that hostile environment natively is a massive leap forward, regardless of the debate over which specific company's AI is currently wearing the crown.
Looking at the totality of those comments highlights that we're squarely in a transitional phase. The tools possess immense raw power, but they are not flawless magic wands.
No, they aren't.
The ongoing debate over their absolute reliability at scale is entirely justified.
So what does this all mean?
Good question.
If we step back and look at the whole picture, from an attorney beating software engineers at a hackathon, to an AI parsing chaotic file systems, to a machine diagnosing its own error logs, and the fierce philosophical debate over vibe coding, the core takeaway is undeniable.
The landscape has changed.
The learning curve for the terminal has fundamentally flattened. The historical barrier separating a great idea in your head from a working product on your screen is effectively gone.
If we connect this to the broader trajectory of human-computer interaction, it reinforces a vital shift.
What's that?
As the technical execution of ideas becomes fully automated, as the AI takes over the typing, the compiling, and the syntax generation, the nature of human value in the digital space evolves.
It shifts upward.
Critical thinking, domain expertise, and system design become exponentially more essential. The true value no longer lies in knowing exactly how to write the code. It lies in knowing what problems are actually worth solving in the first place.
That is a phenomenal way to frame it. The person who holds the context of the problem is the new architect.
Exactly.
Which leaves me with one final provocative thought for you to mull over as you go about your day.
Let's hear it.
If an AI tool can now autonomously write its own code, configure its own server environments, and even read and fix its own error logs, wait, what does the definition of computer literacy look like 5 years from now?
That is a million-dollar question.
Will knowing how to actually read and write programming languages become like knowing how to read Latin?
Just a historical study.
A fascinating, deeply scholarly pursuit for academics, rather than a practical necessity for bringing your ideas to life. Something to think about. Until next time.